Luchasaurus, and that's Jungle Boy. You need to check out All Elite Podcast.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast. You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
Myself, the man with the huge effort arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. Who better?
It's Tuesday. You know what that means. Welcome back, All Elite family, to another exciting edition of the All Elite Podcast, your favorite All Elite wrestling-centric podcast. We're back every Tuesday and Thursday. We come to you to bring you all things Elite, and today is no different. We have an exciting show planned for you guys. We're set to discuss this week's episode of Dynamite, as well as our sleeper picks for tonight's episode of Dark, and a little bit of news bits. But before we get into everything, AJ, my man, how are you doing?
Doing good. I don't have anything new to talk about. I got Cyberpunk. I'm gonna play that. I don't know, man. My life's boring. What's up with you?
I'm doing good, and that's not boring, bro. Playing some Cyberpunk now that hopefully some of the kinks have been worked out of that game. It's probably
I
not.
hope not.
Probably
I
gonna
want it
be
to
a
be
lot.
funny.
Yeah, fair enough. We've had a lot of fun with glitches in games throughout our lifetime, so I'm sure you won't be too worked up if you end up with a couple of them, but. Me, I haven't been up to a lot, really. Been working quite a bit, trying to catch up on some after Christmas stuff, getting ready to go back to college for my last semester before I graduate. So doing a lot of work there, trying to nail down some type of cool internship, something media related, but also related to stuff I actually care about. It's been a bit of a trial and tribulation situation there, but hopefully getting something lined up this week. So. Nothing too terribly exciting going on in my life either. I do have my second child on the way potentially within the next month or so. I saw your eyebrows raised. You're like, are we doing a podcast while the kid is on the way? No, not this second. But we got some time. But that's some exciting stuff to look forward to in my life. Otherwise, just Dynamite, man. Just some AEW. Always love talking about Dynamite. Definitely going to be a brighter show this week. Getting past some of the difficulties of last week, and obviously some people are still struggling, and I don't blame them. And it's a difficult situation with Brody passing, but it's the way of the world at the end of the day. So with Dynamite, we look forward to hopefully having some more of an upbeat show, right, AJ?
Yeah. And it looks like it's going to be that. They got a pretty good card, a cool New Year's gimmick. Twice, and it's going to be back to back. No, I like it. I'm really excited for Dynamite tomorrow. Nothing is screaming at me except the Kenny Omega match. Oh, you got to watch this, but nothing is saying oh, this is going to be bad either. So I feel like all Dynamites should be solid.
Yeah. Dynamite in general is always a good show, and I think that they're putting an effort into this one even before everything had happened. But now even more so, I think that this is going to be an ultra entertaining show, if for nothing else, based upon match quality. And we'll get into that once we start talking about Dynamite and even some of the news bits we have to talk about. But I think they've done a good job with this New Year's Smash show to get me invested and me interested. So we'll definitely get into that part. Let's talk a little bit about some of the news stemming from this week and last week, and of course with Brody passing there, that's kind of been the news in terms of just a lot of more memorials, stuff coming from WWE, continued stuff from AEW, a lot of people within the wrestling industry talking about AEW's Dynamite being one of the best tribute shows ever. We saw with Being the Elite this week a continued memorialization of Brody in the opening minutes of that episode, and we got a really strong statement from Eddie Kingston in that as well. So a lot going on continued for Brody, which is you love to see it.
Oh, and we can confirm the ratings were about 1 million, almost 1 million for people watching for Brody. And again, the ratings don't matter, especially on that show, but it's cool that it got such a big rating.
Yeah, no doubt. It's good to see so many people tuned in, and obviously it makes all the sense in the world. Like you said, no real reason to harp on the rating, but it's good to know that people did tune in and that there was people looking to see what AEW did for Brody for sure and pay their respects in that way. FTR is looking to pay their respects for Brody in a big way. They're changing the name of their finish to Big Rig. I really like that. Cool. I think that it's a great move. I think FTR had a solid relationship with Brody, so it makes me happy to see if anyone's going to utilize something like that. And Big Rig is something you could see get repurposed in professional wrestling down the line. So if it's going to be anybody, FTR does it. I love it.
Oh, yeah, and Kevin Kelly did indeed, and Rocky Mero followed up on the shout-out saying it's January 4th. You know what that means? Wrestle Kingdom, which I thought was nice.
That is nice. It's nice.
And they
to
dedicated
see
the whole broadcast to Brody. They didn't just say that.
That's beautiful, honestly, because just to see stuff like that, the respect that Brody got, and the respect wrestling has for each other, New Japan, AEW, even WWE, you can see that all of these companies recognize what this means and how difficult it must be for AEW, and obviously Brody's family even more so, and friends that were involved. So putting anything aside that could possibly be there between company drama or whatnot, and just showing respect for a great man is what you love to see. So yeah, I think that it's very cool that New Japan followed through in doing that, especially because if New Japan didn't, no one would really have batted an eye, but it is something that I do appreciate, and it's not something I even see as like a shill thing, just more so, a brotherhood thing. Wrestling is a brotherhood. I really believe that, and so makes sense to me. Love to see it. Speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, our guy Moxley showed up to Wrestle Kingdom 15, which I love to see because I wanted to talk a little bit about Wrestle Kingdom, and it's hard to do on a show all about Dynamite, but Moxley made it easy for us by popping up, cutting a little bit of a promo. What'd you think?
It's really interesting because he was in the New Japan Strong Arena, and that's in America. And before he had 2 contracts. He had one with AEW, one with New Japan. The New Japan, he could work New Japan shows, and the AEW one was that he wasn't allowed to work New Japan shows outside of outside of Japan, so he couldn't do New Japan shows in the U.S. So Meltzer was speculating that this means they're going to give him the okay to do New Japan Strong, because they would probably rather him do that than go to Japan. So that makes sense, and that might be happening. So keep an eye on New Japan Strong.
Yeah, and well, that would be cool enough for me, and it would be a great thing for AEW to do, because just to sort of continue to facilitate that relationship with New Japan in a way that people probably aren't expecting. Even New Japan might not totally be expecting, in terms of they don't have to let him do this. You know what I mean? They could tell New Japan to go screw themselves, or they could just say, wait until he can come back, and that could be a whole another year down the line. Instead, it looks like AEW might be willing to play ball a little bit, let him work a show or two in America, and that makes sense. It's not going to be a drawing issue, we're not drawing full house crowds anyway, so it's not going to pull fans that were going to go to an AEW show. Now all of a sudden they're going to a New Japan show to see Moxley. So there really isn't a reason to say no. There's all the reasons to say yes, to create that just relationship. Like I said, something that you don't have to allow happen, but letting it happen to say, hey, we want to work with you guys, and this is how we will. We'll let our guy go and probably drop the belt. One would have to assume, because I would assume.
Maybe, I don't know.
You're right. We don't know, but he's had it for a long time. I could totally see New Japan looking to get the belt off him, especially if they can get someone over here by chance, like Kenta, who makes all the sense in the world. That's the match people want to see. That's the match that is lined up to happen. So if they can get him over here, great. There's a lot going on with COVID, even in Tokyo and Japan. There was speculation Wrestle Kingdom could be postponed or canceled even. So I'm glad we got the show. I'm glad that Mox was able to make some type of appearance, even just cutting a promo like that. That's a lot of fun. And it just seems inevitable the more that AEW plays nicely. And it's not like playing nicely. It's working together, at the end of the day. It's creating a working relationship. The more that they continue this, the better it's going to be for wrestlers, for wrestling fans, for both companies in general. So I think it's great. I think Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom was fun, and it added the ability to talk about a great Wrestle Kingdom show, because they did a great job over the past 2 nights of delivering on some shows that people expect every year. And in the middle of a pandemic, it was hard to necessarily deliver in that capacity, but watching it, being able to see that many fans, I want to say I think they said 10,000 maybe in the arena. That's a lot for wrestling right now, for what is allowed, especially in a place where they had to go on lockdown for the pandemic. So it was cool to see. It was cool to see that massive setup. So That's what I like. Speaking of a massive setup, new AEW is planning on taking their massive setup and moving it to Miami. I think that this probably, to me, leads me to believe that they're going to try and rework the stage, try and add a little bit new flavor to what we're viewing. But what are your thoughts on this, AJ? Them moving from where they are in Jacksonville to Miami?
It's interesting because like I thought I saw the reasoning, and the thing that I linked was that it's cold in Jacksonville. And I was like, it's not that cold in Jacksonville. First of all, it's not snowing. And second of all, like to me, like you're sacrificing something big by moving from Daly's place, because you won't have any fans really. You'll have the dudes around the ring, like the wrestlers and the staff, but like you're not going to get an outdoor arena in Miami like Daly's place, and no way. And even if you did, it's going to be like if it's cold in Jacksonville, it's not like crazy far. Anyways, it's still Florida is what I'm trying to say. Like wherever you go, it's not going to snow no matter where you are. So I don't know. In my mind, I was just like, why aren't you just staying in Jacksonville? This seems so convoluted. But whatever. I mean, if it's a real problem, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it gets freezing in Jacksonville, but like I know it doesn't snow in Florida, so it can't be that cold.
Yeah, I know. That was something that I was also just taking into consideration. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's an interesting situation. I think that, me personally, I really do think it has more to do with the cosmetic value of the presentation of the show. Just what they can deliver there and changing up the setup of the stage and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, maybe, but like I feel like Daly's place is good, and I get that like maybe you want a new aesthetic for the new year, but like I don't see how they're going to get fans in the building or what they're going to do. Maybe they have something lined up with something outdoors. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not totally certain on what they exactly have planned, but they obviously have a plan if they're looking to do it, especially coming off the pay-per-view. That's kind of my thought, is that coming off the pay-per-view, you kind of want to do a reset. That's a good spot to do it, to reset the look. So, yeah, makes sense to me. They also did a Road to New Year's Smash. They threw that up on YouTube, and I caught it on Facebook, actually. It just popped up on my news feed on Facebook Live, and I watched the whole thing. I thought it was really great. What'd you think?
I liked it. I really like that they gave time to make Matt Sydal and Cody Rhodes an interesting matchup. I like that they added more to Kenny Phoenix. I really like the Don Callis promo in general. And those are the things that stuck out in my mind. So if they did anything else on there, you let me know.
Yeah, I think those are two of the primary points. I want to say they did one other thing, but those are the two things that definitely stick out in my mind as well, especially that Don Callis promo. I think he did a solid job at building up that match between Kenny and Phoenix. That is already a match I'm interested in seeing, and more so, a match that I wasn't that interested in seeing, I am more interested in seeing now, in Sydal versus Cody. I think that giving that the short amount of maybe 5-7 minutes that they gave it to really gives anything to it, any substance to that feud, and add something to it, I appreciate it. So just that part especially, and that's what opened it up, so that caught my attention immediately, made me tune in for the whole show. And of course, Don Callis promo, the aesthetic of that, with it being outside in the middle of the snow, just looked very cool, very bad guy, evil manager-esque, and they delivered there. So with that being said, and them going through the trouble of doing a Road to for this show, I do anticipate a good show, a very good show. So I'm glad that they took the time for that.
Same here, man. I like when they announced Matt Sydal versus Cody, like it did feel like that. It felt like what Matt Sydal was saying was like, I'm just used to run into your new show. Like, fuck that. And I'm glad he basically said that. And I like that they hyped him up. Like, he's not a joke. I still think Cody's gonna win, but it's gonna be a fun match.
But they could always do something cool with it now that would feel way better, and you could do something cool either way technically, but with even a hint of build to it now with these promos. Like maybe Sydal turns heel post match, maybe he turns heel in the middle of the match. I'm not anticipating it, but you put something in the air of it where he has a reason to be a little upset, a little bit pissy about the placement of the match or the booking style of it. So I think that just adding the option for anything to happen essentially is what you want in professional wrestling. You want anything could happen, and it's very small scale because it's just a regular match on Dynamite. I'm not expecting them to do some huge storyline development here, But if they did, I wouldn't be too shocked about it either. Seidel's a great talent. He cut a solid promo on that show, so I was impressed.
Yeah, and the promo on Britt Baker's Dark show was cool too.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that they've done a good job with all of that, and the more they continue to build it up is good stuff. Speaking of Dark, they got AEW Dark lined up tonight, another 16 matches. We are not going to run down that card, but what we are going to do is give a couple of our personal thoughts for sleepers of the night. And speaking of Seidel, I have to pick his match for tonight in terms of what I think could be an interesting match to tune into if you're not going to sit through all 16. Maybe pull up and figure out where the Seidel match lines up in the show and tune into it, because Seidel's a great talent. I also think that Baron Black is an interesting talent. I've watched a couple of his matches. He's been somewhat impressive despite the role that he's playing, and with him facing Seidel, I do expect him to get a good amount of offense in here. I don't anticipate a win for him. This is obviously a chance for Seidel to overcome a talent who's bigger than him, looks a little bit more muscular than him. I get the story they're planning to tell here with this, but because that's the story they're going to tell, he's going to look good. He's going to beat down Seidel for a couple minutes and have a good opportunity to shine here, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, should be good. Mine is Kazarian versus Angelico versus Griff Garrison versus, oh my gosh, Austin or Martin. Oh my god, I totally blanked.
Darius Martin, I think, because they're both Martin.
Yeah. Darius Martin, top flight, right? That's yeah. And that is going to be easier if you want to find that one, because it's definitely going to open or close. They're not putting that one on in the middle because I just looked at the card. So yeah, just check that one out. They're probably going to upload it to YouTube as a singular match too, probably the one Andrew said as well. So just keep your eyes out on the AEW YouTube and you'll probably see it.
Yeah, and Dark's a solid show if you have time. Check out the 16 matches that they provide. I'm not going to lie and pretend that me and AJ do. We check them out when we can, but I do go through and check out these ones, especially these ones me and AJ have listed for this week, because that Fatal 4-Way especially, it interests me, even though that was AJ's pick over mine. It does interest me a lot just because of the involvement of the talent they have for that. Kaz, Angelico, Garrison, and Darius Martin. I think that this could be very interesting in seeing just a surprise victory, because your immediate thought is, oh, Kaz, maybe Angelico. But this is a great opportunity to give Top Flight a singles victory here, or even Griff Garrison something to look decent while picking up maybe a surprising win over Angelico. That's what I'm not expecting, but hey, anything could happen in a Fatal 4-Way like that. So I appreciate them putting matches like that on Dark. Should be a good show. And should be a couple good matches if you just check those out.
Definitely.
But let's get to it. Let's talk about Dynamite. Tomorrow night, we've got a great show ahead of ourselves. A solid card, New Year's Smash. First match I want to talk about is the Young Bucks and SCU taking on the Acclaimed and TH2. Just talked a little bit about Angelico, but this match has some interesting build to it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, this would be fun. JR will hate it, but I'll like it, and that's what matters. And so will Excalibur. No, this is going to be great. Young Bucks and SCU as a 4-way team, or whatever you want to call it, a 4-person team. That's going to be fun in and of itself. I'm glad the Acclaimed are getting more time. I think I don't want to say it, but like I mean it in the nicest way possible. I'm very excited for this Spot Fest. Well, yeah, that's what it's going to be, and I'm perfectly content with that.
Well, and I'm still so unfamiliar with the Acclaimed that while I agree with you, I don't necessarily know what to expect from those two. I think
that's true.
We know what to expect sort of from the other 6. They are pretty much going to give us what you said, a good Spot Fest. So like 6 years ago, it would just be a Spot Fest. Now with these 6 talent, it's going to be a Spot Fest, but a glorified one, a solid one. The match should be good. I'm excited to see what the Acclaimed do in this position. I expect them to get a victory here, honestly. A good chance to pick up a win over SCU in an 8-man tag. Continue their story with the Young Bucks, which is a solid story in and of itself. The Acclaimed have looked really good despite being totally new to us. And one thing we didn't even think about, this is the first show of the new year for Dynamite. I don't know
the records are reset.
Yeah, I wonder if they're resetting them on Dark for tonight, or if they're going to push that until next week's Dark. But
Not
Yeah,
sure.
records have reset. That's a big thing. It's so incredible too that we're at that point of this year. Because remember how excited we were for it last year when we didn't even know. We were like,
Yeah.
are they going to reset records? Are they going to change stuff up? What will they do? Now we know what to expect, and that makes me even more excited. Like, and maybe, I mean, that just makes the show even more exciting, honestly. So,
And I think it makes more sense to have a claim to win then, because like the Young Bucks are the champions, you're not going to hurt them.
No.
And so you can bounce back easy. That's not a problem. And then all you have done is TH2 and the Acclaim get a strike in the wins column, and then
And
those
it's
are
solid to
heel
get
tag teams you want to build
TH2
up anyways.
Yeah, it's solid to get TH2 a victory here because it's really just a victory for the Acclaimed, but you attach it onto TH2, they look good, and then they can continue to lose. Like, they could lose 4 more in a row, and a 1-4 victory for TH2 isn't horrible to me. I don't think that's because of just where I value them. They could also go on a string of like 3 or 4 straight and win based off of this win and be in a better position. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think it makes all the sense in the world to give those 2 teams the victory here, opening up the new year. The other match I want to talk about is Cody Rhodes versus Matt Sydal. We talked about this a little bit, so we don't got to spend too much time on this match, but I think that it's going to be a solid match, honestly. It's just the match itself, regardless of the build, but I appreciate the build because it's funny, I wouldn't have much to say either way because we've already talked about the build now, but if there was no build, I would just be like, cool match, but with them adding the build, it's less like a 2008 Raw match thrown together.
Yeah.
So.
Because that is what it would be like. I mean, they're way better than they were in 2008, but you're right. This is going to be a really interesting match because, like you said, they could do something cool here. Like, I don't want to harp on it because we already talked about it, but there is potential for something to happen here. I'm guessing they're leading in to the Go Big show, and with this, so I'm gonna guess this is gonna be the main event because I'm guessing they want Cody on TV for the lead-in, and so I'm guessing that's gonna put the world title match on in the opener. I don't know that for sure, but I'm just taking a stab in the dark.
That would be so crazy. Like, and I would understand it 100%, totally get it. But you have 2 other championship matches on this card that you would be thus placing as less relevant than a matchup just leading into the next show. I totally get it. I get the network stuff behind it, but you could have easily just put Cody against Darby or something to have a title match close your show.
Sure. I could be wrong though. I'm totally guessing.
We're wrong on this show all the time, so it's a stab in the dark, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But the match itself, I am excited for. I do think, like you said, something will happen because Cody. He's kind of played like he's been facilitating feuds. I feel like helping the Darby Sting thing become more and more prominent, and so we'll probably see Team Taz get involved in this in some way. But who knows? Maybe Sydal joins Team Taz. That would be interesting.
That would be that would actually.
We have Jake Hager taking on Wardlow. This one has had its own little build without a build. Really, they just stared each other down for many months. Had a couple moments where they've sort of yelled at each other or whatever, but
I'm not going to be pessimistic. It's a Haas fight. It could be good. I'm generally not excited for Jake Hager matches. That said, every Wardlow match I've seen has been great. So I don't know. I'm guessing that leaves it like middle of the road for me. Like what you said about Cody and Sydal before the hype video. I'm just like, that's where I am with this. Like, I'm not crazy invested in them staring at each other all the time. I
would care about it more if Hager could keep a straight face. Like, if Hager didn't think this was all a joke to me, then I would appreciate it a little more.
I would also care more if Hager was better. But
fair.
Like, if he was really good in the ring and like doing crazy shit, I would be like,
he's not bad though. I mean, I'm not gonna
bad.
lie.
I'm not saying he's bad.
And well, hopefully,
I'm not burying the guy.
And
listen, you buried him worse than me on this podcast.
I probably have. You're not wrong. Hopefully, this is an opportunity for Wardlow to just shine, though. You know, if he gets a solid victory, we talk about him on here sometimes. Significant victory. Hager's not much to us, but he has only been used so sparingly that a win for Wardlow here over him in a decisive fashion would do something for me, you know? It would continue to elevate Wardlow and create a reason for there to maybe be dissension with the Inner Circle against Wardlow and then create a friendship with the Inner Circle and MJF because you know that that MJF and Wardlow are going to blow up eventually, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe Wardlow getting a win over Hager pisses everybody off. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
that could be. I'm really well, because that's a good point. And maybe they will do that because I can't think of anything better. Is my point. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, which is cool. I'm not upset about that. I just have no fucking clue where this is headed because like Jake Hager was just randomly like that Wardlow asshole who's not even here. I want to beat him up, and it's like okay.
yeah, I agree with you, and even more because like. Yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it that's kind of interesting with what they have going on. So, who knows? We will have to wait and see. But I do think there is, again, something a little bit bigger to that than just what's on the surface level because
for sure.
they
There
haven't gone
definitely
very
is.
deep with it. So,
Like,
see.
because this is like fresh off the inner circle being like, yeah, we're brothers, we're all on the same page. And then immediately Jake Hager's just like, fuck this guy.
like, actually, we're not.
So I don't know where they're going, but I'm interested to see.
Yeah, man. I am too because
And
I'm
Jericho's
a big...
going to be on commentary. I feel like he's not going to be on commentary the whole show.
I
Because he's
think he
going to
will.
be booted off during this because some shit's going to go down.
Maybe he might have to leave for a little bit, but I think he'll come back. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
adds like an element of interest to me is especially when he's calling stuff for the inner circle stuff. It's like fun because he almost gets into it as like a fan, but then JR or whoever reminds him like, "Yo, MJF is your boy, remember?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." So but it's fun commentary stuff. So good stuff there. I am genuinely interested in that match because I'm a fan of Wardlow. I would love to see if he can pull a solid match out of Hager, and that, I'm not going to say it's all Wardlow. That would be a testament to Hager, too, putting on a good
Yeah.
show with Wardlow, but it would be impressive if they put on a good match, too. If the story is less than the match, then that'd be cool.
hmm
The first title match we have to talk about is one that has had build, but I feel like I'm just not feeling it. Hikaru Shida versus Abaddon.
I don't think anyone is.
The women's championship. It's strange because I think everyone wanted to really get behind Abaddon and a new character.
They didn't do anything, though.
They didn't do anything with her, and it's just very weird. Maybe if Abaddon went on a stretch of like 5 dominant victories, and then on the 5th one was just destroying someone that maybe Hikaru had a relationship with prior, that you could understand it, like even Big Swole or something, because I feel like they've teamed together, maybe something like that to even add.
Honestly,
But
I would have taken spooky vignettes. I would have been fine with anything, but they didn't do it. Like they gave Hikaru Shida interviews where she's like hearing noises in the background and she's all scared. It's like it's not even here. What are you
Yeah.
afraid of? And you beat her.
And yeah, I think that they can do so much, especially with Hikaru. She's such a great talent, and that's where it's interesting because I don't really have a whole lot of faith in Hikaru losing this one, which makes me scared that she might honestly lose this one.
Same.
Because usually we're like, oh, maybe it's gonna be Thunder Rosa or maybe it's gonna be Britt Baker, and it hasn't been. So maybe it is Abaddon. But if it is, like, they should have done a little more. I know she's had a string of victories on Dark. I haven't seen her a whole lot on Dynamite. I would love to know more about her character, because a character like that, we do need to understand something. You know, is she just a psycho? Are you trying to play the Evil Dead character? Like, what exactly are you doing? Because it is, the longer you do it, the longer fans have to decide for you. And you don't want the fans to decide for you, because that could be bad. It could be great, but it could be bad. They could just decide that she's a joke character. So this match is important, though. It is super important.
That's what you call the boogeyman.
Yeah, no kidding. And he's lasted long enough. So if that's what they want to do,
That's
go
true.
For it.
He
He was just on Raw last night. So
Was he?
yeah, for their
I
Legends
didn't know
night.
that.
For the Legends night, brother. Yeah, we're hip to what's going on in the wrestling game, guys. But this match, the Hikaru Shida match, I think it's a great opportunity for Abaddon to look great, honestly.
Yeah.
Hikaru's going to make her look like $1 million. She's a solid talent. It's going to be a good match, I think. You know, that's my guess going into it.
I think so.
And I
really
think
do.
that they will deliver. So I'm excited for it. I'm not sold on the story for it, though. Maybe there'll be more coming out of it. Maybe that's why we haven't gotten much. Maybe it's going to build up leading into the pay-per-view. But we haven't seen so much of Nyla, so I feel like we could see her again soon.
Yeah, maybe she'll get slapped by Vicky again. I still don't know what that was either. The women's division is a mess, dude. I'm not even gonna lie.
It's up and down, because I don't want to say it's a mess, because we do still have Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, which is
No, we
a
got
good
great
storyline.
talent.
So
I don't mean the talents are bad. I mean like it's confusing, and I feel like there's limited availability, and also I don't want to say that they weren't planning on doing anything with Abaddon, like doing anything that we just said. Maybe they were, and obviously the Memorial Show would have changed that significantly. Because they're not going to have Abaddon do a spooky, scary promo on the Memorial Show. But I don't know.
Well, I think this match would have just been last week then, right? Because
I feel like they could. Well, I don't know, but I feel like they had time, even aside from that, to build this more, and they didn't. But whatever, I don't care. Then, because like you said, the match should be good, and that's really all that matters. And if Abaddon looks like a badass, then great.
That's my only takeaway right now, and that's where if the match falters, then we'll kind of have a bigger reason to gripe about it, I think. But I think that I'm gonna wait and see, and it's a good opportunity again for Shida to make someone look great. I would love to come out of this show with that being my biggest surprise, is that match really blew me away, because I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it. But I do hope that they can build a story from it no matter what happens. And that's what the women's division needs more than anything, and that's what's tough for the women, is Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, who are now, neither of them are champions of anything, are kind of the most entertaining part of that division right now. So, and they're not NWA or AEW champion anymore, so makes it difficult. Speaking of AEW champion, we got Kenny Omega defending the AEW World Championship against Rey Fenix, a match that AEW has done a solid job building up, especially because it had a lot of pre-build to it. These guys have fought in AAA. I believe that's where Kenny Omega won the Mega Championship from, beating Rey Fenix many years ago, right before AEW was really getting started. And since then, I think they had a match on AEW as well, and this one is going to be the one where they get to show everything, I think. It's going to be a great match. I think Kenny we're getting ready to see that Kenny, and I've talked about it on this show before, where he's getting ready to turn into New Japan Kenny, putting on great singles matches every week. And this is the start. I'm calling it right now.
Honestly, I would say the start was Triple Mania, because that was a great-ass match. And I feel like this is just going to follow up on that. Like, ever since you won the title, I feel like that is really, like, the click. Because he hasn't really wrestled except for Joey Janela in any capacity, like, in a big match. Well, I guess Joey Janela was a big match, but, like, who was going to believe Joey Janela was going to beat him? But anyways.
And, dude, Go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say is I wish, like, on that episode of Road 2, we got like even if it was short, anything with like Rey Fenix, or you could do like a subtitled promo like they used to, like on the Road 2s with the Lucha Bros. Anything, like giving them a little shine, or even just a highlight video, or whatever, just a cool promo package. But they didn't really do anything. It's kind of like the Karashita thing, where it's like they built the feud, but like very one-sidedly.
100%. And I think you're right, but at the same time, like the story that they're building, even with just these couple of matches, the Joey match and then this Phoenix match, that they weren't planning on doing this with that tournament. You know what I mean? Pulling those guys from the tournament wasn't situations they necessarily wanted to do, I don't think. So to have utilized it in such a smart way, bringing these matches back and doing something smart with solid matches like Joey versus Kenny, and then this one as well, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great match. I hope that it closes out the show, but I could see it being put in a different position to facilitate the Cody Rhodes match. But overall, Kenny versus Phoenix is going to be a show stealer on a show with some very interesting matches. Any of these matches, honestly, could be a show stealer. But I would hedge my bets on Kenny versus Phoenix very easily because what these two are capable of. So,
100% agree. Took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, so I think that they've done a solid job with this New Year's Smash show, especially with all the circumstances, and that's a good thing. I think that it's very entertaining. It's going to be a very entertaining show. I believe that they announced that Moxley will be on the show as well. He will make his return in a physical capacity, I believe, is what they said. And like we said,
Jericho will be on commentary. Yeah, he'll be on the show. They said Moxley returns next week.
Yeah, so that's good. I also wonder what will be of the Dark Order, if they will pop up on this show at all, if they're going to give them some time to rest, and maybe we'll touch on that in a couple more weeks. And I could understand that, like giving it a minute to just breathe and let people wait and not feel like it's a rush. And I wouldn't be mad at it, especially if it's just a 1 week, like let it sit, don't rush into the next storyline situation. I also won't be mad at them if they they take the next step for that though, because it is a show. It's an entertainment wrestling show, and eventually, if they're going to continue the Dark Order storyline, the Dark Order gimmick, they are going to have to address it in some way. So if they give it a week, totally understandable. But I would love to see Hangman and all of those guys featured, because they are my favorite talent. When they do get announced for television again, I'll be excited for that. Hopefully next week.
I don't know if they're my favorite, but they're definitely, I think, the most interesting, like the most compelling characters.
That's your favorite though, right? That's like the ones I want to see the most. That's what I'm considering my favorite.
I don't know, like Hangman definitely is up there for me, but like Kenny is up there, Cody is up there, and Cody isn't doing anything necessarily compelling at all right now.
I love your list because I agree, but my list is just misfits of like, I love them, but I love Joey Janela and all these other guys. So
I love Lance Archer, but like I didn't want to list him because then I would sound like Mark.
That's what we are here, bro.
You would roast me for it.
I have to. But no, I think they've got a solid Dynamite lined up for this week. I'm curious what they're gonna do with Archer though as well. Probably something next week. They've got to fill a card next week too. Doing 2 nights of New Year's Smash. Next week they'll also have Snoop Dogg. So we'll talk about all that next Tuesday. We will be back on Thursday to run down everything that happened on Dynamite, give you our thoughts on the card, and also give you the ratings reaction. We're gonna let you know what the ratings are. So we will talk about all of that on Thursday. AJ, let them know where they can find you, and we can get out of here.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Upstate Andrew. I'm on Instagram at Andrew Kazir. You can find the podcast on Facebook at Facebook.com/AllElitePod. We're on YouTube at YouTube.com/AllElitePodcast. If you're watching us there, make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. And if you want to find us on Twitter, we're on Twitter or at All Elite Podcast. Until next time, thank you guys for tuning in. See ya.
Bye.